Hi everyone, today we're going to be looking at expanding double brackets. So I've got a situation here, x plus 2 in the first bracket multiplied by x minus 3. Okay, there's two ways to approach this. One is my preferred method, which is basically just remembering that everything inside the first bracket needs to be multiplied by everything inside the second bracket. Then the other method, which I'll show you a little bit later, is by remembering an acronym called FOIL. So let's look at my first strategy. Multiply everything in the first bracket by everything in the second. So if I'm looking, let's do this in a different color. If I'm looking at this first term here, this x inside the first bracket, and I want to multiply that by everything inside the second bracket, I'm going to have that first x multiplied by the x inside the second bracket. So I'm going to have x times x is x squared. Then I'm still looking at my x inside the first bracket, but this time I'm going to multiply it by the next term inside this second bracket. So that's going to be x times negative 3. So x times negative 3 is going to be negative 3x. Okay, we've done everything that we need to do for this first x, so I'm just going to scribble that out. Now we're going to be looking at this 2 inside the first bracket. So again, I want to multiply that 2 by everything inside the second bracket. So that 2 multiplied by this first x, I'll draw another arrow underneath it, is going to be 2 times x, which is plus 2x. And then that first 2 again multiplied by the negative 3, well, 2 times negative 3 is going to be negative 6. Okay, let me erase some of these dots down here. Okay, so now we can simplify this. So x squared remains as it is. I've got negative 3x plus 2x. So we're starting at negative 3 and we're going up 2. So really that becomes negative 1x, or I could just write negative x, and then minus 6. So that's the first method. Multiply everything in the first bracket by everything in the second. I like that because you don't really have to remember anything, as long as you can remember that. The second method that we'll do, so I'll give a different example, but this works the same. Let's say a plus b outside of c plus d. Okay. And before we get started on this one, I'm just going to write this acronym over here of FOIL. Okay, what this actually means, F stands for first. So let's have a look. The first term in the first bracket multiplied by the first term in the second bracket. I'm going to draw a line here that looks like this. This A multiplied by the first C. And you could do a little X if you like. If you like for multiply. So A times C is AC. Now let's go back to our acronym. The O stands for outside. So now let's do the two outside terms. So the outside term would be this first A and the outside of the second bracket, which is the D. So A times that D. Again, you can do a little multiply if you like. A times D is going to be plus AD. Now let's look at the I. I stands for inside. So the two inside terms. So this B multiplied by the next inside term, which is C. So B times C is plus BC, and L stands for last. So the last term in the first bracket is the B, and the last term in the second bracket is the D. So B times D is going to be plus BD. Okay, we can't simplify this any further because there are no like terms. You've got AC, and that's the only time that it occurs. AD doesn't occur again, BC doesn't occur again, and BD doesn't occur again. So you can't actually simplify. You could do that technique for the first expression that I had at the top. That would work. Nonetheless, basically, it's just personal preference. I prefer this first method up here because you don't have anything to remember. The second method of FOIL can be useful. I think where the first strategy is more helpful is when you've got situations like this. A plus B outside of C plus D outside of E plus F, for example. If you remember that everything in this first bracket needs to be multiplied by every other term in the second and third brackets, that's a lot easier. So this might be a situation where FOIL breaks down a little bit, but if we just have double brackets, then either technique works.